Good morning, everyone. We have a few minutes before 9. I want to briefly say that for, I think, the next few classes, everything will be as scheduled: Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. In particular, this Saturday, about the same time, Khenchen Koncho Gyaltsen Rinpoche is teaching. So you all should listen to that live. Then, I will continue because I don't want to keep canceling. But then we will record this. Then you can listen to it later. Yeah. Waiting, I can hear you. You might have to go back to the Chinese room. Yeah. So this is this coming Saturday. As I said, I will continue with this series, but Khenchen Rinpoche is teaching. So if you all want to participate in that, definitely you all should do that. Then upcoming too, the Dragon Dharma Chakra Center in Singapore has also some other events happening, like on the weekends. Weekends are very popular. So again, if you want to participate in those, know that we are recording what we are doing here, which you can then watch later. And also with recording, I want to say we try our best, we do our best. Sometimes it doesn't happen, so then we just let go, So for a reminder, a suggestion that I'm reminding all of you, especially for those of you who only understand one language, then we have a period of pause as the interpreters interpret these into 2 different languages. So during that time, especially if you only understand one language, during that time it's a good opportunity to just let the mind settle and perhaps watch your breath. Let your mind basically, don't get too caught up in techniques. The point is to let your mind settle and to settle evenly. So you can use your breath to help your mind settle. If you like mantras, you can let mantra help your mind settle. But don't chant mantra like you are in a rush to go somewhere, like then your mind is not settled. Your mind is becoming more frantic. If you want to combine both of them, breath and mantra, then as you inhale the mantra once, you exhale the mantra, you inhale mantra, exhale mantra. So like a recording that I like to play of Khenchen Rinpoche chanting Manjushri mantra. So Om Vageshware Mom, Om Vageshware Mom, Om Vageshware Mom, Om Vageshware Mom. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. The purpose of letting the mind quiet down and settle down and to settle evenly, it is not an end unto itself, but it's an important basis for clear seeing to develop, seeing clearly. Clear seeing that can destroy the kleshas, the afflictive emotions. Clear seeing that can free us from being entangled, tied up with our emotions. Not suppressing the emotions. Yes, Buddha did teach us to restrain our emotional reactions to things, to restrain ourselves. But also, Buddha did not say just like from restrain, go to suppress, go to push it down, But rather, Buddha says, restrain, then with restraint, the mind won't get so caught up anymore. Then when the mind doesn't get so caught up in the emotion of the situation, of the moment, then clear seeing can free us from the control of these emotions, these afflictive emotions. And these emotions include, perhaps the most troublesome one actually is, I am right. So sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, habitually, I am right immediately is there. Now we have to be careful. The Buddha is not advocating us to develop self-doubt, to develop like lack of confidence. Yeah, so don't misunderstand this. In fact, the Buddha is teaching us how to have real confidence. Confidence that is not afraid to look squarely in the eye, the possibility that I'm not right. My judgment right now is based on conditionings that I have fed habitually, and so it's having me repeat the same pattern again and again and again and again, especially unskillful patterns. The confidence to see that and say, I don't need that, I can change that. So it's not to encourage lack of confidence or to put down your opinions. It's not that. Yeah. The difference can be very subtle, but the difference is very important. And so then, what we call practice is basically sorting out the differences between these two things. Developing skillful confidence based on clear seeing removing unskillful confidence based on ego grasping, which is based on lack of skillful confidence. Anyway, let's start with the usual opening recitations now. Dala Dhamma Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Darba Dan Tamje Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tham Jege Zo Jebe Ma Nanga Dan Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dungyao Dan De Nudu Lana Me Bhaya Dabra Sobe Janju Rimbo Je Dobra Jo Dala Dhamma Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Darba Dan Tamje Jembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Zo Jebe Ma Nanga Dan Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dungyao Dan Du Nudu Lana Me Bhaya Dabra Sobe Janju Rimpo Je Dobra Ja Nala Dhamma Jebe Da Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tamje Jembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Zo Jebe Ma Nanga Dan Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dungao Dan Du Nudu Lana Epa Yang Dabra Zobe Janju Rimpo Je Dobra Je Je Du Sama Gegi Bardu Lunga Yizum Ge Wala Go Maji Bardu Lunga Yizum Ge Wala Go Du Dering Ne Sunde Ne Ma San Da Sam Ye Bardu Lunga Yizum Ge Wala Go Song Ye Chodang Sogi Jonam La Janju Bardu Dani Gyabzu Ji Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Gi Rola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Sanje Chodang Sogi Jonam La Janju Bardu Dani Gyabzu Ji Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Gi Rola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Sanje Chodang Sogi Jonam La Janju Bardu Dani Gyabzu Ji Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonang Gi Rola Penchir Sanje Drupra Shu Manang Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gendan Dambra Gyurji Dungyao Dang Dungyao Ki Gyudang Dewa Gyurji Dungyao Mepe Dewa Dangme Dewa Gyurji Neding Tadang Nidang Dewe Tangyang La Nebra Gyurji Manang Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gendan Dembra Gyurji Dungyao Dang Dungyao Gi Gyudang Dewa Gyurji Dungyao Mepe Dewa Dhamme Dewa Gyurji Neding Chadang Nidang Dewe Tangyang La Nebra Gyurji Manang Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gendan Dembra Gyurji Dungyao Dang Dungyao Gi Gyudang Dewa Gyurji Dungyao Mepe Dewa Dhamme Dewa Gyurji Neding Chadang Nidang Dewe Tangyang La Nebra Gyurji Now I will do the prayer to the lineage, and then the offering of the mandala and the requesting of the teachings. Dorje Chanchen de Le Naroda Mami Dabu Badu Jitin Kun Katrin Sunden Sawe La Me Shab Sa Ju La Ma Yi Dam Chokyong La Soba De So Da Jin Jin Ji Lom Kyab Dengin Do Me Sam Lingen Dam Pe Dun Sun Yong La Kyab So Me Kyab Wa Dorje Chang Pa Jitin Kun Po Shab La Do Do Da Do Sam Kyong Kyo Le Me Jin Jin Lo Shi Do Jin Jin Nenge Mumba Sa Ne Kyan Sim To De Du Do Pra Jin Ji Lo Hong Wa Jin Yu Jin Na Chang Som Pe Ma Ke Sa Tung Po La Yasen Choking Wa Drum Nye Pe Ma Ju Ne Shi Shu Dun Ko Dun Kan Drum Ma Pong Ko Ke Ki Je Se Da Dun Ke Jin Jin Lo Chi Shu Su Su Guru Pe Ma Se De Ho O Min Chu Ki 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 Po Da Ne Du Sun Sa Ji Kun Ji Ngo Mo Ni Ran Se Chu Ku Myong Sun Tong Se Pa So We La Me Shab La So Wa De Sashi Bugi Jushi Meto Dradi La Lenshin and Dekin by the suggestion to make the Puwayi Dogo Namda Shin La Kerwa Sho Gosun Yongso La Metso La Lanji Na Sansun Deshin Nikinjo Dalu Lancho Nansi Yon Shela Lami Jogging Hodun Zadu So Joso Badan Jujin Shapa Danji Sa Yiran Gosun Soba Yenge Wajo Se Dagi Jisoba Tamje So Ben Chanju Jirungo Om Guru Deva Tagi Nirana Mendala Pradeja So Samje Namgi Sambadan Lui Jidra Jidawa Jejun Tumon Debaye Choki Golo Gordo So. Yeah, so we are now at the point of chapter 2, the chapter that is called Confession. And we, last time we met, we looked at the first of the 4 powers. And today is also like one of the last days of the Sagadawa. Well, it's the 28th day, then 29, 30. There are 30 days, 29, 30. Then Sagadawa is over for this year. Let's see. So those 4 powers are the 4 powers or the 4 factors that are necessary in order for us to remove, to cleanse, to purify, in general, all negative karma that has been created and has not ripened yet, as well as the habit patterns. In Sanskrit it's called vasana, literally the perfuming, the habitual propensities related to those negative karmas. They are to be removed, purified through the use of these four factors or these four powers. Then specifically here in the context of generating bodhicitta, generating relative bodhicitta, before, sort of the analogy of before you invite a special guest to your home, first you want to clean your home. You want to prepare a good place so that the guest that arrives will arrive and be delighted, be comfortable, and will stay long. So the first power, the power of regret or remorse, last time when we covered that section, so one of the questions that always comes up is, what about this feeling of guilt, So then I talked about, again, the operative word, I think, for the Buddha's path is skillful and unskillful. So a particular emotion, right? A particular feeling, in and of itself, it's not yet necessarily negative or positive until we relate to it in a skillful way or in an unskillful way. So when skillfully handled, regret or remorse, it's not really about dwelling, not at all actually, about dwelling in the past, but it is about the ability to see patterns of behavior from the past that has led to the present, and seeing that and not hiding that, not kidding yourself about that, then that is skillful. As Dharma practitioners, we want to be careful not to simply absorb these worldly sayings that is kind of pseudo-spiritual, or, things like, I live my life without regrets. It's like, from a Dharma perspective, unless you're Buddha, saying that can keep you in samsara perpetually. So this regret or remorse, this first power we're talking about here, actually, in the Indian context, when this is discussed, in the Indian Buddhist context, when this is discussed, there isn't a lot of like emotion that is recruited to make you feel like sad, and you want to cry, and you want to like, oh, I did this terrible thing, It actually is not that, you know. In a way, sometimes we feel like, oh, Buddhist practice of regret or remorse is not very satisfying, because it doesn't give you, you know, a space, like, to cry your heart out for having done something that you regret, Because what is emphasized here is not really to get that emotion of like, oh, I'm so terrible, I'm a horrible person. This regret here is about seeing clearly the pattern of behavior that has been unskillful, and how we so easily fall into those patterns, then seeing that clearly, and then making this decision to halt that, to stop that. And here in Shantideva, very interestingly, he then introduces the element of, don't forget that you are going to die. So with awareness of the impending end coming, it motivates us to say, so therefore now, let me not waste time on, like, useless things. I have already seen the pattern. I am now recognizing this unskillful, this negative pattern of behavior. And I don't have that much time to fix this. Let me now be determined to fix it. So if naturally some genuine sense of sadness comes up, that's okay, you know. But there's no like encouragement to feed that sadness and, you know, like put on like, you know, sad music when you do regret or remorse, you know, so that you'll feel, oh, especially in the Indian Buddhist context, that is not encouraged. But maybe at the beginning, you know, if we are the kind of person that has a hard time having regret or remorse about things we've done in the past, then maybe, yeah, yes, maybe then we should turn on some sad music and then have the people who hurt that we harmed before, you know, come and tell us, you know, this is what happened to me, what you did to me. Then, you know, it'll give rise to like some, you know, some remorse and regret so that we will look, oh, yeah, 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 that is not good. Oh, yeah, yeah, that is not good. Maybe, so it's up to you, you know. So anyway, that section on the first power, towards the end of that section, so verses 44, 45, 46. So Shantideva brought up and said, you know, death is, you know, just around the corner. Then he says, and then when that happens, you know, when that happens, when you know that that is going to happen, and that death is just hiding around the corner waiting for you. When that happens, you know, like who can help us? Who can protect us? Then at that time, you know, we look around for someone to protect us from the suffering that will be coming, from the dread that will be coming. At that time, what can we do? Who will protect us? With that, he begins the next section, the power of support, the power of reliance, meaning who can support us? Who can we rely on when suffering becomes too too strong, too powerful? I just saw a question. Melinda in Malaysia asked, "What about regret with regards to, you know, some negative things that we now realize we have done? that we have done unintentionally. Now, generally it is said, karma is determined by intentions. Based on having the intention, then definitely karma has been created. And then if the intention is virtuous, then happiness comes. If the intention is unvirtuous, suffering comes, generally speaking. So from that perspective, we might say, oh, I did not do the harmful thing intentionally. So from that perspective, you might say, maybe there is no negative karma. But if we look more carefully, we will see that actually there is a problem there. And the problem there is lack of attention, lack of awareness. Because of lack of attention, lack of awareness, we unintentionally created something negative. So this is the fault of unawareness. Which from the big scheme of things is actually more dangerous. Because it is most directly related to ignorance, which is the root cause of confused existence. Yeah, so that was a good question because it gave us a chance to understand more subtle points about that. Especially in Kyoba Jigden Sungun, founder of Drugong Kagyu, in his teachings, he very much emphasized this more subtle points, more beneath the surface point. So then how to purify this? Well, same process. These four powers. We recognize, under the first power, we recognize, man, I have a lot of unawareness. I'm left and right, creating negative things, even though I don't mean it. But gosh, that's a lot of lack of awareness, Then the first power says, because of lack of awareness, now I have to guard against the lack of awareness, the lack of attention. as they say in India, same, same. Same, same. They move their head like this. Same, same. When it comes to purifying, whether intentional or unintentional, negative, karma grows subtle. The elements that needs to be present are these four powers, these four factors. Same, same. So let us read now from 47 to 53. So in the different rooms, we will read this section on the power of support. So who do we go to? Who do we turn to for real protection? Now 47. Thus, from this day forward, I take refuge in the Buddhas, guardians of beings, who labor to protect all wanderers, those mighty ones who scatter every fear. And in the Dharma they have realized in their hearts, which drives away the terrors of samsara. And in all the host of Bodhisattvas, likewise I will perfectly take refuge. Gripped by dread, beside myself with anguish, to Samantabhadra I will give myself. My body I myself will give to Manjughosha, gentle and melodious. To him whose deeds of mercy never fail, my Lord Avalokita, I cry out from the depths of misery, protect me now, an evildoer. Now to the noble one Akashagarbha, and to Kshittigarbha, from my heart I call. To all protectors, great, compassionate, I cry to them in search of refuge. To Vajrapani I shall fly, for at the sight of him, all vengeful things like Yama's host escape in terror to the four directions. Formerly, your words I have transgressed, but having seen these terrors all around, I come to you for refuge, praying, swiftly drive away my fear. So basically here, Shantideva is saying, take refuge in Buddha, take refuge in Dharma, take refuge in Sangha. And here Sangha, specifically, the Bodhisattva Sangha is highlighted here. So the three jewels is in essence what refuge is. So even in Vajrayana, those of you who know Vajrayana well, you will come across things like also called the three roots. Which is like the three roots being Guru, the Idam deity, and the Dakinis and Dharmapalas. So again, we should not misunderstand and think, oh, the three roots are even more super than the three jewels. The three roots are none other than the inner aspects of the three jewels. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, their external aspect, the outer aspect, is as we normally understand it. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. The inner aspect is what we call in Vajrayana the Guru, Idam Deity, and Dakinis and Dharmapalas. Then, even to elaborate on that, then the secret aspect of the three jewels is the drops, the winds, and the channels of the subtle body. Then the ultimate level of the refuge is Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, actualized. All these four levels, they actually, we talk about four levels, but in reality, they're not divided into four. This is just for us, on the level of training, articulated, described in this way. But essentially, when you say, I take refuge in the Buddha, then all levels are present. I take refuge in Dharma, all four levels are present. I take refuge in Sangha, all four levels are present. Whether present with or without understanding is what makes it into these levels. There is even a fifth level, you could say, and these levels. Anyway, by the way, when we say level, also be careful. Don't think like, oh, level 1 is like the not so important level. Oh, level 4, ooh, that's all very important. I think maybe better to say aspects, because we're so hierarchical. We're so primitive in our structure of thinking, we're so kind of middle age, hierarchy is so important. So when we say level 1, 2, 3, 4, you're like, oh, When can I get to 4? No. There are aspects. So there is a 5th aspect, actually, even of the 3 jewels of refuge. And that is the Mahamudra, and also Dzogchen. Sometimes you can also say that Mahamudra, Dzogchen level. And there's a 5th aspect, you can say, also of the 3 jewels. And this 5th aspect is related to the nature of mind. So then the 3 jewels on this level is the empty aspect of the mind, the clarity aspect of the mind, and the all-pervading aspect of the mind. Empty, empty means, no limits, no arising, no ceasing, no center, no periphery. So that is the equivalent of the Buddha refuge. Clarity, meaning awareness. Mind is not just empty, but mind is also aware, and that is the equivalent of Dharma jewel. All-pervading, it has this capacity to be anywhere and everywhere, all-pervading, and that is the equivalent of Sangha jewel.
Sorry, Dr. Lai, can you repeat again?
So let me repeat this. The empty aspect is the aspect of the mind where it is unborn and therefore doesn't die, no beginning, no end, no limit, free from samsara, free from being stuck, all of that. That is Buddha jewel. So first that, maybe translate that first. Then the Dharma jewel from on the level, on the aspect of mind, is that the mind also knows. It's not just mere empty. It also knows. And this knowing is always present. Whether obscured or not is the difference, but it's always present. This luminous nature of the mind is always present. And that is the Dharma jewel. The mind also has a third aspect, which is all-pervading, all-pervasive. So it is not limited to just here or here or here. It has the power to be everywhere. And so this then is the Sangha jewel. Just like, Sangha is like the nurse, right? We say to help. So the aspect of this mind that can kind of respond to all situations accordingly, all-pervading in that sense. That is the Sangha jewel actualized on the level of mind. But here, in this section, Shantideva just discusses, highlights the outer, what we call the outer aspect of refuge. And so he said, Buddhas, the guardian of beings, who work to protect all wandering beings, I take refuge in them. The first, verse 47. Then the Dharma, he emphasized that the Dharma, in fact, what are we really talking about? We're talking about the Dharma that these Buddhas have realized. So meaning not just Dharma like the truth out there, but that truth out there, so to say, that has been realized by the Buddhas. I take refuge in that. So, for example, it is part of Dharma that everything is impermanent, as in part of reality, part of Dharma that everything is impermanent. But if we don't realize that, then that Dharma actually cannot protect us. So therefore here it says, Shantideva says, and the Dharma that the Buddhas realized, I take refuge. It's also saying that I need to realize this Dharma. And only in that way can it really protect me. And the Sangha jewel here is the host of Bodhisattvas, meaning the assembly of the great Bodhisattvas. Then you say, well, what about the Shravakas and the Partika Buddhas? He doesn't name them here. Elsewhere, he pays respects to them. He praises them elsewhere. Shantideva. Here, he doesn't highlight them, not because he looks down on them, but here because he wants us to understand that for those aspiring to become Buddhas, then it is necessary to take refuge in the Bodhisattva Sangha. Why? Because the Bodhisattva Sangha, through their example of taking on this really challenging, awesome, unbelievable task, like despite seeming like insane to say, I want to liberate all beings, even though you know beings are limitless. So to want to liberate limitless beings means, on the logical level, this task can never be completed. And yet, you say, no, I will do it. So it's this kind of courage that we need to be inspired by. And this is embodied by the great Bodhisattvas that I mentioned by name in this section. From an ordinary logical standpoint, the Bodhisattva vow is completely unreasonable. It's doing the impossible. So we need to develop the kind of ridiculous courage that says, to put it in ordinary words, without Dharma fancy words, it's saying, if something can be done, you say, oh, that's not worth my effort. I'm looking for things that cannot be done. I will go do it. And these great bodhisattvas mentioned here, they are like that, you know. They made the promise, the vow, the aspiration to do the impossible, so to say. Of course, on the ultimate level, it is possible. It's just that on the relative level, it feels impossible. And if from time to time you say, you know, after you've taken bodhisattva vow, but from time to time you feel, oh, this is so impossible. Actually, don't feel bad about that. You know, to me, that means you are taking this seriously. It's easy, you know, like in a fantasy way, like I will do the impossible, you know, and think that I'm Superman. You know, it's very inspiring. You know, your theme song comes on in your head, and you know, you seem like a hero, but you have not really taken it seriously. So if you do take the bodhisattva vow seriously, yes, of course, from time to time, you know, you'll feel a little intimidated. You'll feel like, oh my gosh, you know, like, what did I get myself into? Those feelings, it's good. That means you're actually thinking about it. So now let's take a few minutes break, 5-7 minutes. Take a quick break so that you can get up, stretch a little, run to the bathroom, get a drink, and then we will continue. Okay, we're back. So here, I think most the names of the great bodhisattvas here: Samantabhadra, Manjughosha. Manjughosha is Manjushri, and Avalokita, Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig. So I think these three you're quite familiar. Then Akasha Garbha. Akasha means space. Garbha means treasury, treasury of space. Then Kishti Garbha is treasury of earth. Treasury of earth. So it's I feel Shantideva nicely contrasting treasury of space, treasury of earth. Earth is like solid, cannot pass. Space no obstruction, both the treasuries, these two bodhisattvas, and then finally Vajrapani. So 6 of a group of 8 bodhisattvas are mentioned by name. The 2 more, one is Maitreya. I think we all know, and Maitreya is supposed to be the Buddha to come, in the same way that Shakyamuni came, manifested the 12 great deeds. Maitreya sometime in the future will also do the same. Then the last one, usually people don't remember or don't hear the name much because also his name is very long. It's Sarva Nivarana Vishkambim. Don't worry about repeating it in the interpretation. Just say whatever he said. So the name Sarva Nivarana Vishkambim. So Manjushri is embodiment of wisdom. Avalokiteshvara, embodiment of compassion. Vajrapani, embodiment of power. Power to benefit beings, to overcome obstacles. Kishtigarbha, the earth treasury, is the qualities. Richness. Sarva Nivarana Vishkambim is the purification of obscurations. Maitreya is loving kindness. Samantabhadra is great aspirations. And then Akashagarbha is especially the purification of damage vows.
Ay, ahora,
Veronica?
yeah, Dr. Lee, just 1 minute, please. They couldn't hear me. Now,
Okay.
I will explain again since the beginning.
Sure.
Just can you give me some time, please?
Yes. The Spanish translation room, there is some technical, so we'll wait a little bit.
After Kishtagarbha, Dr. Lee,
Uh-huh.
did you mention the other Bodhisattva, Akashagarbha?
Yeah, so I so far you heard Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, Vajrapani, Kishtigarbha, right?
Yes,
So four more, right?
yes.
So next four, right? Sarva Nivarana Vishkambim, right? It's the purification of obscuration.
Yeah. Ya, después el
Maitreya, loving kindness. Samantabhadra, the power of aspiration. Akashagarbha, purifying damaged vows. So this is one way of talking about the 8 bodhisattvas. There are other more organized list of qualities as well that you can find. Now, important thing is, don't think, oh, Manjushri has wisdom, but no compassion. Oh, Avalokiteshvara has compassion, but no aspiration. Oh, Samantabhadra has aspiration, but no love. No. Insofar as these great bodhisattvas are like, 10th Bhumi bodhisattvas, then they have all the qualities. But insofar of speaking about them as symbols of Buddha qualities, then we associate one name with one quality, one name with one quality, one name with one quality. Yeah. So verse 53, basically it says, because the Chinese translation and Spanish might be a little bit different, but basically 53 it says, it says, and now you are addressing Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. You say, in the past, I have gone against what you have taught. I have gone against the example that you have shown. But now that I recognize, what kind of danger I have put myself in, then now I am calling to you. Please, help me. And as they say, God only helps those who want to be helped, or who helps themselves, right? They say. So likewise, in the same way, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha can only protect us if we want them to protect us. If we actually allow their protection to work, then yes, of course, it can work. So that means, like in the context of like this confession or purification, it also means that, we should not think that, I have to do all of this myself. We should know that actually, no. There are great beings in this world, whether we give them the names of Samantabhadra, Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara or not, there are other beings in the world that are committed to actualizing bodhicitta, and these beings, they are more advanced than we are, and so they have the capacity to help us, to assist us along the way, to guide us away from dangers, to show us the right direction. So we should not feel like, we're doing this alone. No, not alone.
Sorry, Dr. Lee, can you repeat it, please?
Like, we should not feel like we are doing this alone, basically. There are these great beings, whether we give them these names or not, know that there are these beings committed to actualizing bodhicitta, and they can help and assist us. Next is the section on the power of remedy, the third power. And also then the fourth one, the power of resolve. You can say that the first power is about looking back at the patterns, the harmful, unskillful patterns that we have been building and reinforcing. So it's about looking back in the past. The second and the third power, it's about focusing now. Then having seen that, now in the present, what need to do? Well, first, we need to look to the Buddha Dharma Sangha as our refuge, as our support. And then the third power, then now we apply the remedy. Then the last power, the power of resolve, is about future, making a resolve, making a determination of how to go forward. So the three periods of past, present, future, these four powers are in operation. So verse 54 to 64 is the power of remedy, and then 65 is the power of resolve. So we'll read that together now. For if alarmed by common ailments, I must implement the doctor's words. What need to speak of when I'm constantly brought low by ills like lust and faults 100-fold? And if by one of these alone the dwellers in the world are all thrown down, and if no other remedy exists, no other healing elsewhere to be found, then words of the all-knowing doctor, which uproot our every ill, the thought to turn on him deaf ears, is abject and contemptible stupidity. Along a small and ordinary cliff, if I must pick my way with special care, what need to speak of that long-lasting chasm plunging to the depths of 1,000 leagues? Today at least I shall not die. So rash to lull myself with words like these. My dissolution and my hour of death will come to me. Of this there is no doubt. Who can give me fearlessness? What sure escape is there from this? It is certain that I'm going to die. So how can I relax my mind at ease? Of life's experience, all seasons past, what's left to me? What now remains? By clinging to what now is here no more, my teacher's precepts I have disobeyed. And when this life is left behind, and with it all my kith and kin, I must set out on strange paths all alone? Why make so much of all my friends and foes? How instead can I make sure to rid myself of evil, only cause of sorrow? This should be my one concern, my only thought, both night and day. The wrongs that I have done through ignorance, stupidity, all actions evil by their nature, and transgressions of the precepts, fearing all the pains to come, I join my palms and ceaselessly prostrate, and everything I will confess directly in the sight of my protectors. I pray you, guides and guardians of the world, to take me as I am, a sinful man, and all these actions, evil as they are, I promise I will never do again. Yes, so what can we say, about this remedy, this third power? This remedy here, Shantideva is using very strong, emotional words, right? But he's not trying to make you depressed. Basically, what he's saying here is mindfulness of death, mindfulness of impermanence is the practice, is part of the remedy we need to apply now. Then, second element, seeing recognizing that death can descend anytime, then we don't waste time in meaningless distractions, and instead we practice mindfulness. Mindfulness here is not just the trendy thing that people are doing these days, mindfulness for I don't know, like executives, mindfulness for children, mindfulness, even like mindfulness for better sex, like all kinds of stuff like that. No. Here mindfulness means, mindful of how the three poisons cause us to create unskillful actions that result in suffering. Mindful of how, if we guard against that, then we can create positive karma that results in happiness. So here, just the general principles or attitude for remedy is given briefly. In a way, you could say the entire remedy is to come. All the chapters that he will teach. All the different things, different practices, different trainings that we have to engage in. All of that is remedy. So let's see if there are any questions. Today we're going to end a little bit earlier, but we have maybe 5-6 minutes for questions. If you are shy to speak, you can type your questions in English, in Spanish, in Chinese. Okay, I see a question in English that I can maybe...
I also have a question that I have here a lot.
Oh, okay. So let me read the English one. What are the key practices on path of seeing to advance from one bhumi to the next? Oh, big question. What are the key practices on path of seeing to advance from one bhumi to the next? So you can translate the question first. As we say in English, this is beyond my pay grade. This is beyond my level of pay. I'm not paid for this job. To answer this question. But don't be completely disappointed. What I can say is, when you do get to the first bhumi, I think the answer will be there. In the great Nalanda tradition, that developed in India to try to answer any and all possible questions that are raised about the teachings, I am sure they have very specific. They say from the bhumi 1 to bhumi 2, you do the following things. Bhumi 2 to bhumi 3, you do the following things. So part of the reason I am not able to answer is I'm too lazy to go remember those details. So my confession. But I think what Shantideva has given us in this text, if we really take even parts of them to heart, then we will be progressing along to the first bhumi, and then first bhumi. They say once you get to the first bhumi, then going up to the further bhumis is the same as like when a bird is taking flight. Yeah, this example. So a modern example would be like when the plane is taking off, it uses the most energy. Once the plane ascends to a certain elevation, then it's cruising along. So getting up to that elevation is like getting up to the first bhumi. Very difficult. A lot of energy is needed. A lot of merit and wisdom is needed. Once you get up to a certain elevation, like a plane, like a bird, then you can just cruise along, and then go higher and higher and higher, or go down as you wish, without using a lot of energy. That's how they have explained it. Veronica, go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Lee, I have here always also some people say about forgiving, no? And this could be related to the remorse or regret. Some people say, forgive yourself. I think this is not also the right view, no? Forgiven will be like it's associated, not associated with karma, no? I think this is my question.
Okay, so the question is that when we talk about like regret or remorse, then often you will hear expressions like, and yes, this is like modern spirituality and self-help. They will say, "Oh, you have to forgive yourself," right? So then, question or comment from Veronica is like, this doesn't seem to be so related to what Buddha taught about karma. Yeah, so anyway, translate that question. Then. Yeah, you hear a lot now, like pop psychology, then even like, Buddhist teachers that are very popular, also have to talk like this. Oh, you have to forgive yourself.
Este es muy popular.
Yes, you can do that, if your guilt is making you stuck. Stuck means not able to change that unskillful pattern that you have built over time. Then if the guilt is making you stuck, then do whatever you need, including forgiving yourself. So that you can move on. But as far as, Buddha's teachings on karma, Buddha's teachings on, purifying vows and all that, yes, we don't see anything, Buddha doesn't say, first forgive yourself. But it can be a skillful means if you know how to use it to help you not get stuck with guilt. So today we have to stop here because, Veronica has a work meeting happening in 5 minutes. I'm so grateful to the translators, to Waiting, doing it in Chinese, Veronica in Spanish, and then Claudia also in Spanish. It's a big job. Takes up a lot of mental work, So we rejoice in their great merit. We think of their great merit, and then whatever little merit we have, all together we bring together and we dedicate now. Changchum sem chorim poje magye banam ge gyurje ge banyam pa me bayang gone gong du bewar sho. Okay, good to see all of you. Thank you for attending this, and
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you.
Dr. Lee.
Gracias.
see all of you all soon.
Yes.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good evening. Sleep
Gracias,
well
tan lindo.
or work
Gracias.
well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see.